Let's talk about porn recovery and how neuroplasticity can actually repair the brain capacity damage that has been done by watching porn. I know that's a mouthful, but I'm Dr. Trish Leigh. I am here to answer that question for you. First, I got to break that question down for you, but then we're going to answer it. So the question is, can my brain actually be repaired? Because you're telling me that there's brain damage that is done to my brain because I've watched pornography. So what I tell people in my videos is based on science, and if you don't believe me, which you should, but if you don't believe me, you can go to two websites, truthaboutporn.org, or you can go to Fight the New Drug. There is a boatload of research that shows that if you consume frequent and consistent pornography for any amount of time, it will shrink your brain and it will create underactivity. And I, for one, have seen it on EEG, which is the brain performance pattern technology that I use to peek into people's brains to see what they are doing. What I see is there's too much slowing, there's not enough power. Most times those brains are in anxiety mode also, and that is functioning. So when we talk about brain capacity damage, it's not that you really have brain damage per se, it is functional. So you probably have heard about functional medicine. Functional medicine looks at the functioning of your system and makes your system function better. Once your brain starts functioning better, the cells start to heal and start to grow and to get larger and healthier and stronger. That's how functional affects physical. So let's talk about that, because we're going to talk about neuroplasticity and how can it actually repair the functional and then the physical damage. Okay, so this is how it works. The way that it works is it's called Hebb's Law. Neurons that fire together wire together. So it's just like pathways in your brain, and you have to use the healthy pathway over and over and over again so that it is hardwiring in that new optimal brain pattern of using that better brain speed in the middle called alpha and low beta, instead of using the speeds out in the extreme of too much slowness and too much fastness that create boredom and overwhelm and anxiety and exhaustion, which is the brain pattern that wants to be stimulated and calmed simultaneously by something. And the best something, unfortunately, out there is the super normal stimulus pornography. So the way that you get your brain back on track is to stop watching pornography, and this pattern will start to come down. Anti-Hebbian learning theory. You're going to start unwiring the brain from the pattern that you have been using. Simultaneously, you're going to make better choices, and you're going to hardwire in the brain pattern for the optimal brain pattern. That's what I do when I use neurofeedback brain training to help hardwire in the new optimal brain pattern faster using technology. And the tech that I use basically rewards your brain for making the speed in the middle. It doesn't punish your brain, but it gives it negative feedback for using these speeds out here. So over time, your brain starts using more and more of this and less of this without you having to do anything except for engage in the training, which is fun and relaxing. So that's how brain training works, to use neuroplasticity to be able to reboot your brain. Now stay with me for one more minute, because the way that that helps for permanent change is you train your brain to use more of this speed. You stop watching pornography, so these start to go down. Plus, we're training these down. Then what happens is, if you're watching pornography, you are stuck in what's called a negative feedback loop. A negative feedback loop means you watch pornography, your brain is shrinking and is using underactivity, which makes you want to watch more pornography, which shrinks your brain some more. Then you go into the world and you have negative behaviors. It's difficult for you to engage in the world because nothing is giving you the amount of dopamine that your brain now needs except for your supernormal stimulus, pornography. Then your behavior So we just said your behavior's like, I don't want to go in the world because that's just painful and there's no pleasure there. So let me just get back to my porn. Then your relationships start to fall apart or disintegrate, or maybe you're no longer doing your work, or you get busted watching porn at work. So now your job's at risk. You stop engaging in your hobbies because they don't give you the amount of dopamine that your supernormal stimulus does. That is literally a negative feedback loop. It's a downward spiral, but it's based on neuroscience. Now, here is the key for permanent change, and this is why brain training and knowing what your brain is doing and controlling it is so important, is because now you start brain training. Your brain's in a healthier, stronger place. So now you're able to make other new, better behavioral choices, which means you're strengthening the brain pattern that we're training, which means you're even more able, it's easier for you to make better choices, like not watching pornography, because that optimal pattern is growing and this addicted one is decreasing. And then now you go to a hockey game and you enjoy it and you're just chilling and you're like, wow, this is actually nice. And you're sitting there with your honey and you're laughing. And then you come home, you get a great night's sleep, you do your brain training again, you're locking in that new optimal pattern. Then you go to work. You have a brilliant idea that you haven't had in a long time. You're like, wow, using my brain is fun again. That is increasing the functioning in the middle, strengthening those cells, making them healthier and stronger and bigger again. And now you are de-shrinking, is that a word? De-shrinking your brain, making it at full capacity and repairing the damage with a positive feedback loop and upward spiral. And it is a beautiful thing, and I would love to be part of it. If you are looking for someone to guide you through this process, I've just created a short course. It's only $49 right now for a limited time. So go to my website at drtrishleigh.com. If you go over to the neuro coaching courses, there's a pull down. It's right there. Get in it. It's affordable, it's accessible, it's anonymous, but of course I'd love to meet you. So go there, get started. It's going to tell you exactly what to do to start training your brain, and it's going to tell you exactly what to do to start changing your behaviors and why, the neuroscience behind it, because once you know why, you are going to rock this out when you're training your brain. Okay, now remember, control your brain or it'll control you.